Turn off this goddamn music for somebody try to copyright. But I don't know if you could hear. I got the car off. Let me see. What did it say? It's 28 degrees outside, and as you see, I'm wearing one of my lighter coats, but it's sunny. It's nice. I mean, 23 degrees. It is nice up here. I mean, everything's melting. I mean, even though it's 23 degrees, it's melting. Today was food drop-off day, so I dropped off some food. Interesting talking to. I had forgot that I have a Russian friend, a Russian person I drop food off, and she watches my shows sometime. Hey, brother Lobo, what's happening? How you doing today? And so I was asking her because I didn't realize she was from Ukraine because she watches my shows, and I just cracked on. I was like, well, she cracked on me, and I was like, what do you think of all this? And she kind of confirmed some of what I was saying because she said she talks to people over there, and she says some of it is real and some of it is bullshit. The thing I wanted to get the people to looking at it that I noticed, like when they said the caravans was coming up from Mexico, the thing I noticed was, why are all these people supposedly who have walked hundreds of miles, why are these people wearing new clothes? And I'm seeing the same thing in Ukraine. Like some of the pictures is like top brand names. You seeing some of these people, some of them coats are top brand names. Like they purposely getting these shots. And I'm thinking, okay, here's a person that wasn't young and was a male. But that's what we always see when they show refugees. We always see new clothes, people wearing new clothes. So everybody just put on their best before they left, chilling, staying out the rain. Yeah, it's beautiful here. Now it rained yesterday, Saturday we were supposed to get an ice storm. Never got it, stayed warm enough. And so yeah, it's nice up here. I'm about to drop my daughter off and see what she's gonna want to do. She ain't gonna want to hang out with me, but I'm gonna make her hang out with me anyway. So she ain't gonna be too happy. I get out there and get to walking and shit. She ain't gonna be too happy, but I just need to get to walking in. It's a nice day. No reason not to get to walking in. Coming back, I might catch a little traffic. So trying to say, should I wait till tomorrow? And my back is a little sore. I'm keeping the heating pad, just delivering the food. But anyway, that's one thing I noticed is why are there so many new clothes on people who's supposed to be fleeing? That doesn't make sense. And that's something I catch because, again, I see details. And that's one of the details that I noticed from looking at the people coming from the southern border. And Biden has nothing to say about that. All these people, and as I said before, they got all these people coming in here that are going to classify as European. And that's why they're letting them in. I mean, we know that the birth rate, and they try to say the birth rates of everybody. All the black folks I see having babies like a motherfucker. All the brown folks, they having baby like a motherfucker. But most Europeans, you're seeing a lot of 1-2 children. It's very rare you see European families with several. So it just makes me, but I'll say this. Yesterday I saw a father, and it was just kind of funny. It's funny how we dress our children the way we dress, or we'll buy our children clothes that we wear. And it was interesting. All three of them had baseball hats on, hoodies, joggers, or I call them sweatpants. And they had the same kind of flat, what is the flat Adidas with the mesh? They all three was wearing that kind of stuff. So I thought that was a little, but I think I probably did the same thing. I look back at the clothes my boys wore, and kind of some of my taste. None of my sons really wear hats except I guess my oldest son wears hats as much as I do. Maybe my soon to be 27-year-old son. Yeah. But my son lived with me. He got his hair's out to here, so he ain't trying to cover it up with hats. As a younger person, he did, but as he got older, plus he would forget them. He would forget hats. So it's just it's funny. So I guess the subject today, if there's any subject, the subject is going to be comfort. Like, as a man, can men afford to be comfortable? And like, what are you like when you feel comfortable? Now, I was saying yesterday when somebody said, are we in control of our lives? Is comfort something you're in control of under? Hell, I just paid $3.99 for gas, or probably $3.96, when we know it's a false pretense. We know it's a lie. We know it's artificially inflated. Again, you know, you see in most jobs 17, 18, but with inflation, them jobs are still like $7, $8, $9. So the money is not spreading as far as it should be. So can a man be comfortable? Just as a man, I mean, and what is your comfort like? Like when you're comfortable, what is that like? I say somewhat, we should always have the mindset of not being 100% comfortable, you know, still looking at all the possibilities. Now, one thing I got from being a cop is just I still scan everything around me, especially these days and times. I look at folks as they approach, and I assess the threat level. I look at people's waist. You know, are they walking funny? Because sometimes when you have a gun, it's kind of less you cross draw. I mean, it's a give. It's a way you walk. Like you have a gun on your right side and you're trying to hide it. I mean, you're going to walk a little differently. Here's a side story that made me think. I have a friend that admitted to robbing a gas station when he was younger. And he said he had put the shotgun down his pants leg, so he's limp walking with this shotgun. I was like, what? He's like, they got away, but they ain't get much. And that's the big thing. When we out in public, can we afford to feel comfortable when we're out in public in these days and times? I mean, especially the ones of you out there that got to take the trains and take these, you know, the public transportation. I mean, can you really be comfortable on public transportation? Too much comfort leads to complacency, and not enough comfort leads to stress. Yeah. And that's, you know, the balance. You know, that's where the balance comes in. And that's part of one of the prayers I say. You know, when I go to the fathers, I thank the fathers for the balance, because without the father, there's no balance there. And that's what, you know, rounds a child out. But yeah, but it's a middle ground. So I think it's like comfort has a floating kind of movement. You know, there are times where you can sit with your friends that are truly your friends, and you can show that little bit of comfort. But once you move, once you go around, or once you walk out their door, you know, that comfort has to be less. I mean, there's some people driving and you can just tell they into driving so much, like, especially when you stop at lights, people can fuck with you then. People don't pay attention. You see people stopping or sitting at their cars, just sitting there in the parking lots and not being aware. I mean, people now just be like in the phone so much that they just don't even pay attention. And what they're saying is causing a type of horn in the back of people's necks, from people's necks being like this all the time. And that's like you stay with the mind. That's what people don't realize. That's an old ancient technology that has finally found a way for you to always feed into it. Instead of you getting the information out of a book, you're sitting here, you know, connected to this thing. Even doing this, it connects me. It connects me, and I'm staying connected to the beast. We carry the beast all around us. Something that we think is new, something that just knew that it couldn't drop everything at once, drop all the tech on people at once, because people would miss a lot of the tech, wouldn't understand it. So they slowly have to feed it to us. I mean, hell, it was a game, Pokemon game, where children are walking around outside looking for imaginary shit. Everybody's stuck on their phones. Yeah, it's like when I go out to dinner with people, I put my phone face down. I put my phone face down. If it's not stuck in my jacket, I put it face down, and I'll just be into the people I'm with. I just be into them. Now somebody called, like when I go to my best friend's house, we both rarely look at our phones unless somebody calls us or somebody texts us. We hear the phone go off. Then we look at the phones. But for the most part, we talking about sports. We talking about the children, you know. DeAndre, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. Pokemon Go, I remember that game. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's good and bad about that, because the good was children were outside. The bad was children still want to be connected to the mind. And it's not a new technology. None of this stuff is new. None of this stuff is new. Again, it's released to us as new, but it's really not new. This is old stuff. You do a little studying in Peru, they show telephones. They show telephones in Peru 1,000 years ago, where the same thing, the same technology, copper wire with skins put on long lines where you could communicate. Obsidian mirrors is another thing. Crystal balls. Most of this stuff came from America. That's what they don't tell you. Mirror scrying comes from America. The same thing with meditating with skulls. Skulls was an American thing. They stole Montezuma's skull. It's supposed to be in the library, the British Museum. They stole all his crystal balls. They stole his big obsidian mirror. So. But yeah, I mean, just as points, like even sitting here, and I know I'm in the school, but still, I'm still looking around. I'm still assessing people. It's going to be pretty chill, but it's still just something that we have to, and I guess the best way is that comfort always has to be sliding, because in this day and time, like Lobo said, I mean, and stress isn't really all bad. Sometimes stress motivates people. When people have timelines, some people tend to do better. So this kind of thing, stress isn't really always bad. I mean, think about when you work out and you lift, you understand you're stressing your body, but you're building your body up doing it. And so it just made me wonder, and not wonder, but it just made me share that idea of what is comfort for everybody. Like what is, what is acceptable to you, and where you still stay present, because daydreaming can take you out of really it will make you too comfortable, because you're not really paying attention or being present, and being present is the only way you can really break what for just a simple term, the matrix, where you can see. It's like I say, I always walk around my car like this. Like when I park, to be present is you understand magic. You truly start learning magic, and without being present, the magic will vanish from you. And again, we need all the help, and most people need all the magic that they can come up or bring about. Like some ways, like the magicians had a story where they said something was destroyed, so magic went away. We probably live in close to that. Bobby Hewitt was saying that a lot of the books that give some of this ancient occult information is turned off, can't do you any good. And in some instances, he is right with that. Some of the magic does seem to be turned off. But as the magicians even show, and what they show was they could do sparks of magic to build little fires. So you see where it's still some that do exist. Yep, some do exist. I just wonder, when they send these box, it's just funny. Hey, there he is. Hey, Edward, what's happening? Thank you for joining. And comfort can lead to slumber. Now woke means liberals. And now with gas being so high and gas being a bill again, I watched one dude, he got 10 gallons of gas, cost him $50 for 10 gallons. And most of our tanks is 10 to 20 gallons. So 20 gallons, whew. $80. And some of these big, and that's what put Ford and General Motors out of business. These prices, because all I'm seeing is vans and SUVs. I'm only seeing 4 or 5 cars. Let me see, 1 car. No, that's a small SUV. Here's 2 cars. There goes 3. Let me see, there's a couple cars back there. 4. But in my viewing, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know, I'm seeing like way, it's getting foggy in here. I'll just open the window. I'm seeing way more SUVs. And so that's a stress, you know. They're pushing for people to get electric cars. Yeah, that too. Harris was talking about that. And the dude yelled at her, well, what about the high-ass gas prices? I mean, infrastructure is not there for electric cars. Because I was looking to get a Focus. No, not, yeah, Focus maybe. No, the middle-sized one. I can't think of the name of it. But that one was both. It did gas and it did electric. And so I don't know, like Hy-Vee has 3 or 4 electric chargers. The Goodwill has one. Goodwill Salvation Army has one. And like, how does that work? The best answer I saw is like when you needed to refill, you would change your batteries. That made more sense. But some of the batteries are so big, you almost change it out to chassis. So, and I don't know if electric cars would, dang, Ashy in her mug. Wow. Solve our problems. Necessarily solve their problems, because these old cars ain't going away. I mean, 20 years, it's still going to be old cars. Even if 80% drive electric, these old cars ain't going away. You know, people ain't going to be able to afford to just keep buying the cars. That's why I was thinking, how would they supply all the electric cars charging stations and deal with wait lines? Yeah. Hey, Dread, thank you for the kind words. But the old cars ain't going to go away. Just like this is another problem they're going to have too. With the self-driving cars, like you can hit it and it's self-drive, which has been around since 1995. The technology has been around since the 90s, because Road and Track had an article about self-driving cars, where that was the old LeMans or LeSabres. It was like 90 LeSabres, 94, 95 LeSabres. And it was a plot of land about 200 miles around San Diego. And they have to have the sensors on both sides. And that's how it self-drives, is there's sensors on both sides. So this has been around for a long time. This is not as new as they want to say. This has been around for a long time. As I told you before, I sat in a car with airbags in 71 or 72. Airbags wasn't put into cars until, what, 89, 90, somewhere around there. But the technology, they had it. It's just the way they release it. So yeah, the infrastructure is not there. But inflation, and I'll say that, you know, yes, in 08, when Bush was president, people quit driving. Gas went high. But the last time was freaking Obama. 14, 13, 14, 15, Obama. And this where the hiring rates wasn't even high, because everybody in Minneapolis pay 15. Most jobs you see pay 14 to 18, 19. But with inflation, you got to make 30. You got to make $30 an hour with inflation. And that's what they don't tell people. Yes, the pay's higher, but inflation, it nullifies it. See, this is how the rich do. It nullifies it. Unless you're good at investing and you invest a lot to keep your cash flow going higher from, you know, as you trade, you're going to take the hit. And that's what most people is taking the hit. Yeah, your paychecks is longer, but look at gas. I mean, gas is a bill, and gas goes to, even though I got electric heat, you know, gas is still figured out in there because of the nuclear plants. I was looking at one type of system where incinerators, where they feed all the trash to this city, and that's how they use the city gets power. They burn their trash, and it generates a certain power. Now, the same thing with that is the smokestacks you got to have when you had that kind of shit, and how good is that for, you know, for the atmosphere? So, kind of a give and take. It's like, I'm gonna tell you, one of the biggest scams they do, especially here, is those big windmills. Those big windmills are not efficient, and now most of the time you see them, they running on diesel fuel. And then the material they make them out of, like when they use their life, the engine goes bad or whatever, they lose their life. They can't destroy this stuff. This stuff is made out of shit that can't be destroyed. So now we've got these big graveyards full of these type of metals because they can't break these metals down. And so they just have to bury them in the ground. And you know how massive these things are? They're massive and they're totally inefficient. They forced the reservation, the Mongrels, their casino, they forced them to buy one. They probably don't use it. I've rarely seen it move since it's been there. So all these things would make a man feel uncomfortable. But as I told somebody, you know, old saying we used to say at A&T, especially for football players, it made a lot of sense. You got to fight even though you want to cry. You got to fight even though you want to cry. You always fight. How would this supply all the electric? Okay. I don't think electric are any more efficient. If you're driving long distance, you have to stop and charge halfway through your trip. Yeah, and that's like if I took an electric car from here to Chicago, most of them would die around Milwaukee. Or maybe, yeah, about 5-6 hours. So like most of them range about 400 miles. Yeah, so I would be almost to Milwaukee maybe. So it would take me somewhere. If I went east, it would take me near Milwaukee. I think 400 miles. I think some of the Teslas can go 400 miles. But then to recharge that thing to take me 400 more miles, matter of fact, it wouldn't even take me all the way to Michigan because where I go is about 900 miles. So it would take me short of where I needed to go. I would have to stay somewhere again and recharge it. But in fact, in Michigan, I could probably get away with 3-4 hours charge and then shoot to where I was going. But I would definitely have to spend the night somewhere. And that's why they're not efficient. And the one who figures that out is going to make a lot of money one day. The person that figures out how to make them more efficient, how to fast charge. You know how you can fast charge your phone. Ooh, this feels good on my back. I forgot my dang back brace. So I'm gonna have to go see the chiropractor. I done threw myself out a little bit. Do electric stim tonight. Some with 5G or 4G, not much of a speed difference. And an interesting thing is, like most electric cars, I've said this before, copied my friend's design. He patented a type of electric motor because again, electric cars, the brakes each have separated motors. They have their own motors, each brake. That's why them motherfuckers, some of the fastest, a quarter miles in the world, because it just hits it. You know, there's no gears, it just hits it. But each brake has its own motor as well. And my friend designed that. Joe Gamel designed that and had it patented, but again, probably 30 years ago. Because I've said before, he invented the bladeless patent. We had a toy car. You just, like, you know, the friction toy cars where you rent and let it go. We had a car that you just blew on the top of, and that motherfucker took off across the room. And it was with the bladeless turbine. And one thing that still exists is the bladeless turbines are used as actuators. And if anybody doesn't really know what an actuator is, like consider like you have two pipes. Probably easier to like you have one pipe leading into two, if you can follow me. So one pipe is leading into, you know, you got a flow of some type leading into two. Well, what an actuator will do is, you don't say you want this side closed, you would close this side with an actuator, and then the pipe would flow, you know, it would flow this way. That's kind of what I'm saying. And he invented something that still exists. I don't know if his son's making money off it, but that was you know, of all the things created with the bladeless turbine, that was one of the things. But he came up with a car just run on that bladeless turbine, a big bladeless turbine underneath. Researcher, I realized your money lost value if you just stored it in the bank. Money is currency. You have to put it to work and keep it in motion to beat inflation. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. You really do. It ain't meant to be stagnant. Hey, Young, what's happening? You can catch Coke. Yeah, I saw some of it. I saw they got beat. I mean, I still think they're going to win it all. They're going to win it all this year. I'm pretty sure they're going to do him like Al McGuire got. Al McGuire's last game, of coaching Marquette with as I say, Butch Lee, Earl Tatum. They had a hell of a team, and they beat Phil Ford now. What was the old coach, Dean Smith? They beat Dean Smith. Dean Smith, before Michael Jordan beat Georgetown, he was a coach that couldn't win at all. And I think Dean Smith in 30 years only won 2. Yeah, because Williams got the next one. So, but I think that's what's happening. You know, they're trying to make him the greatest coach of all time. And I still say he was a very racist person, because his whole agenda while he coached was getting the best European players. He always got one brother to keep him competitive. But if you look at his history, he always went after the top European players. And I mean American Europeans. But that was his agenda, to keep Duke with a program that always has European players and highlights European players. I mean, the most sickening games to watch was when J.J. Redick was there. That just made no sense. He loved J.J. Redick. He ran almost every set for J.J. Redick. And it was just like the favoritism he gave that guy. I mean, set after set of him going around picks, back cutting, going to another pick. I mean, it was just, the favoritism was crazy, crazy. Damn. Watching a young teacher leave. Think she can get up out of here. Yeah. It's like all the handicap parking is right here. And even last year, they was always blocked. So what does a person do if you have to park? Like, there's one lady I know is handicapped back here, but you can't park here. I mean, this is the stupid shit they did. Now we should be able to go into school and get the children, but they're making people sit in the cars. But I can't complain. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, she got up out of there easy. There she goes. Plenty of room. And I turned it off. What time is it? Oh shit, this time has flown. This time has flown by. So yeah, I think Duke is gonna win it. His last game, he's gonna win it. It won't surprise me at all. And if we look at their draw, they're gonna get a favorable draw again. We know it's gonna be upsets. I think one lock is St. Mary winning their first game. Wherever we see St. Mary go, I think that's a lock of winning their first game. That's one thing that I'm pretty sure is a lock. I heard an analysis. He's like, they're going to win an NCAA tournament game. The odds is probably the first game they're going to win. Oh my goodness. This garnet and this light, I see it reflected and having a little reflecting, but damn, this garnet and light is almost opal-like. The amount of fire that you see. It's really nice, really nice. Coach K coached 42 years. That's a long time and an interesting number. Personally, I don't think it always means anything, but I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, in a way, it kind of shows he was anti. You know, he was really anti. And like if you looked at Jalen Rose and Grant Hill, if you looked at Jalen Rose and Grant Hill coming out of high school, Jalen Rose was I do believe was graded higher. Here you had a pure point guard compared to, and Grant Hill's 6'8", but Jalen's 6'9". 6'8", 6'9". Jalen's a little taller, but a point guard. But like he said, Duke never recruited him. They wanted Chris Webber, but they didn't recruit Jalen. Why? Even the other Fab Five, which King and Jackson weren't great players. Michael Talley was better than King, and my man Sam Mitchell was better than Jackson, or flipped around. That's what they ruined, those two players. Michael Talley, I watched Michael Talley in high school break a press because he went to one of the Detroit schools, and in Battle Creek Central, their coach pressed almost every game. Down by 20, he's pressing motherfuckers. That was just what he believed in. But Michael Talley beat these dudes pressing the press by himself. And shit, Mark White was Mr. Basketball in Michigan in one poll, ended up playing at Central Michigan. I mean, all these dudes that played college basketball, Mike Mosley, Leon McGee, all these dudes play college basketball, and they pressing to Michael Talley, and he is just going through it. Great handles, nice guy. And then Sam Mitchell was 6'8", power forward. I mean, with you watch their early games where you had Sam Mitchell playing with Howard and them, they was nice. And when Talley was starting, they had Talley and King starting. I mean, that was a great team. And then they got caught up with, the narrative. Let's have this narrative and call it Fab Five. Wasn't the best team. And they had a great team. Remember early in the game when they lost to Duke, remember early in the season, they lost to Duke by 2 or 3. Chris Webber misses a shot at the end of the game, but they had Duke. They had Duke. That's why you could see that national championship game. They stay with them the first half. They get blowed out the second half. And then to play Carolina, of course, Chris Webber does the famous lost it on purpose. Lost it on purpose. The media hyped JG up like crazy. Chris Lofton was actually the better college player. There you go. Yeah, there you go. As a Bulls fan, I'm still salty. Jay Williams got it. Oh, and you know, this is what like Jay Williams and the weirdo that just Winslow Jr., the weirdo that just went to prison. It's in their contracts they can't ride motorcycles. It was in both of their contracts. They both signed the contracts, got their bonuses. It is in their contracts. You cannot ride motorcycles. Jay Williams is lucky that he had his medical things paid for, and he was lucky they gave him his salary because they weren't obligated to. But he was stupid. I mean, Jay Williams is probably like, remember what happened to Bobby Hurley? Remember Bobby Hurley went through a windshield. I don't know if y'all remember that. He was thrown through a windshield. Never played basketball again. Coaches now, but number 1 pick. I don't remember if he was lottery or not. Some of y'all might remember, but it still was a number 1 pick. But Jay Williams, I mean, it made no sense to do what he did. That made no sense. And I think that both of those instances was organic. You know, motherfuckers is like, nothing gonna happen. And maybe something was done to the bikes. It's hard to say because that could happen too. But it's like, why would you risk? Like, I said this before. It was called the let me get this. Let me see. I don't know if they called it the Terry Durod rule or Greg Lloyd. I'm getting the right name. But in '80, either Terry Durod or Greg Lloyd was playing with the Celtics because they won a title in '80 with Larry Bird. Or 80, 81. He won a title, and I think it's Terry Durod. Terry Durod tore up his knee in a summer league game. And so for the next 4 or 5 years, summer league games was frowned upon, letting the players play. That's why Michael Jordan had to put in his contract a clause that said he could still play for the love of the game. It was like you had to be in some type of an NBA sanctioned tournament from up till about 86, 87, because it was the Terry Durod rule, I think, or Greg Lloyd. I can't remember which one played for Boston, but I think it was Terry. Durod. That was sweet watching Terry Durod. He'd wear the headband under his neck, and when he would shoot, everybody would start going do, and then if he missed, they go ooh. But if he hit, they would go do. Then that jumper would hit, they'd go rod. The whole place would just shake. He played at UAD and ended up with Boston. So there's things in your contract that you can do and you cannot do. But what's interesting, a lot of NFL players, play basketball. I played with a lot of NFL players that played, especially down here. Several dudes. Randy Moss was in the Pro-Am League. I played and coached. But I did drop 36 on El Amin. He called me an old man. We didn't have enough people. And I put it on his ass because I was in shape too. But that's my man. El Amin is a great, great brother. Really great brother out of this area. Got a title, had a short pro career. He's short. But great brother. Great brothers. I met a great father too. Great father. Our sons play baseball together. Well, you see the minis is here. I'll be on at midnight tonight on the Chocolate Mountain Show. Till we meet again. Say less.